Hello friends, welcome back to another video. I know it's been a little bit since the first one, but I am back. And today we're doing something a little bit special. We are going to go through my sword collection. I mentioned this in the last video, but if you didn't see that one, basically I did a 20 questions kind of video, and one of the questions was, what is something about you that might surprise people? And my thing is that I like to collect swords. Now, they're not real swords. I will say, warning, they're not real. They are blunt. They are metal, but they are blunt. They are props, they are decorations, but I like to collect them. And a lot of them are replicas from different games and different movies and TV shows and things. So I have quite a vast collection, and I know quite a few people in the community have been wanting to see them, or at least see them all in one video for a very long time. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to start by saying my collection is quite big. I have 19 swords, 7 daggers, and then a couple of extra items like a trident and Your Forge's Thorn Princess daggers, which aren't really daggers, they're more like needles. And so I'm going to go through them and show you them today. I don't have a particular order that I'm going to go through them with. I might start with the first couple that I got and then go from there, because I don't remember chronologically which ones I got and when. So I will tell you a little bit about the swords, where they're from, what replica they are of, and go from there. I hope you guys enjoy this, and if you like it, please leave a like or comment below, or please feel free to subscribe as well for more of these content. And maybe in the next year or so, if I collect more swords, I'll do an end of year recap with all the additions. Without further ado, this is the first sword. Now, first off, we have my Legend of Zelda Master Sword. It's very, very obvious which franchise this is from. You guys know that Ocarina of Time is my all-time favorite game, and The Legend of Zelda is my all-time favorite game series. So, of course, my first sword is going to be from Legend of Zelda. This one has a little bit of a funny story. I actually bought it in Canberra at the Canberra Outlet Centre. There was a pop-up store selling like random like American football jerseys. There were like swords. There were a whole bunch of different things in there. And this one hadn't been sold. And when we asked why, they originally had the price at $130. And we asked why. They couldn't get it out of the sheath. And then my dad was like, do you want it? And I was like, absolutely, because we had been to Supernova previously. I wanted a Master Sword and I didn't end up getting one. So I was like, yes, get me this sword. And we got it for $50 because it couldn't open. And then by the time I got back to the car, I actually got it out of the sheath because I was just wiggling it the whole time. So this is my first sword. It's very meaningful to me. I absolutely love it. And yeah, I'll see if I can get it out of the sheath now. Also, they're a little bit dusty just because some of them have been put away in storage for a little bit just so they don't get ruined, because we are renting and we can't display a lot of them. We can't hang any of them up, so quite a few are just like on bookshelves and stuff. That's how we're displaying them around the house. Sword number 2. This is sword number 2. It is technically it's a replica of Excalibur from Arthurian legend. Now, what movie and what show it is from exactly is actually, I'm unsure. I'm pretty sure it's a replica from the King Arthur movie that is like, I think like 30 years old or something. But I was really into Merlin at the time, and I was really into Arthurian legend, and so I wanted a replica Excalibur. So this is this one. It also has a little thing on the top of it because it can be kind of pointy, but it's one of my favorites. It's really cute. It's got a dragon on the end of it. It's got a dragon in the hilt of it here, and I like it. Sword number 3 is not entirely a sword. I mean, it is a sword to a hobbit. I have a replica of Sting from Lord of the Rings / The Hobbit, and it is one of the franchises that I absolutely adore. Now, it's a little bit on the smaller side, but like I said, it is still considered a sword, so I keep it in my collection. This is the part where I'm losing track of like when I actually got swords and things, so they're just gonna be in any random order from now on. My next sword is the Sword of Thranduil. This is from Lord of the Rings as well. It is quite a big sword and it's actually quite heavy. Even the handle is solid metal, but I love it. I love the design of it. I love how sleek it is. This one lives on our alcohol cabinet downstairs. We have, well, it's a cabinet for our pantry, but we have alcohol behind it and this sits in front of all the bottles. But that's sword number 4. Now, sword number 5 isn't actually a replica from anything, but I was really into pirates at one stage, and I say at one stage, I'm into pirates all the time. I was also just into different designs of swords. I eventually would like to design my own sword. And so I was looking at different handles and different hilts and how swords are made. And when I went to a convention one day, I saw this sword. Now, I'm not entirely sure what this sword is. I think it's a rapier. And it is very sleek, very nice, but I love the design on the handle and how it's a full covering. And so this is part of my collection. It's not a replica, but it's just like a cool little collective item to have. That's sword number 5. The next sword is another Lord of the Rings sword. Now this is Arwen's sword. It is another elven sword with the elven script engraved into it, and it's super pretty. It's not completely metal. This is plastic, the handle on the end, but there are some cute designs, and then this one is on display downstairs on the desk that I have downstairs for my art and craft. Now this sword might look familiar to quite a few people. This is the Witcher sword. This sword is closer to the design of the sword for Geralt out of the Witcher TV show on Netflix, rather than the actual games. As you can see, it's got the badge from Renfri, or brooch, I guess is what it's called in it. But yes, we do have Geralt's sword right here. It's got engravings down it as well. And on the back, it's got a jewel there too. This one is really cute. I really like this. I bought this at the same time as the next sword. But I was very excited when I got this one. Now the next sword is one of my favorites because of design alone. This is Ciri's sword from The Witcher, and I absolutely love it. It's actually quite big. I couldn't even get the sheath off just then. It's huge. The handle itself is like double. Like, I would consider this a great sword for my size, but I absolutely love it. It's Ciri's sword. I do love this cutout here, but I do think that if I was in battle with this sword and this sword took one hit to this area, it would probably snap. So this one's just very pretty. And I like the brown handle over the black of Geralt's sword, but I really like this one. The design is so cool. Also, I don't know if you can see, but Suki has now joined me right here. She was meowing at me before and I told her to get on the bed. Now this one is another one of my favorites. It is another Zelda sword. So this sword came out, or this sword design came out a few years after the first one. I would say this one was probably closer to the release of Breath of the Wild, but it's a big master sword, a lot bigger than the other one, and it gets stuck a little bit in the sheath sometimes, but it's got the Triforce here in the sword, and it's more got like gold kind of wings rather than the blue ones of my other one. This is probably my favorite sword of all time, out of my collection at least, and you guys may have seen it before because in a lot of my videos it is behind me during my streaming and my recording. Also, the sheath of my smaller master sword is plastic, whereas this one is like faux leather. It's a vinyl, and so it is like very pretty. The design is peak on this one. It's one of my favorites. Sword number 10 is actually one of my more recent swords. This one is from 7 Deadly Sins. This one is Meliodas' sword, and Alk and I watched 7 Deadly Sins together ages ago, and I always said, you know, I always wanted the sword. So here it is. This is it. And I think it's cute. I think it's very different from the other ones. It's a lot shorter. It's a lot heftier. It's heavy. and I just thought it was a cool addition to the collection. Sword 11 and 12 come as a bundle, pack, couple, pair. Now, sword 11 and 12 don't usually have sheaths, especially in the anime, but it's Inosuke swords from Demon Slayer. I have 2 of them because it was cheaper to get 2 than just 1. And I absolutely love them. I thought it was super unique for Inosuke to have the cut out blades in the anime, and I just loved it. I think it was super cool. I know I'm saying super cool a lot. I love swords. I don't know if you guys know this, I love swords. But yes, these were a really cool part of the collection, and when we saw them, I knew I definitely wanted to grab them. I'm a huge Demon Slayer fan, and also Demon Slayer is very close to my heart because me, Tealful, J-Star, and Auk all did a group Demon Slayer cosplay to PAX a few years ago, and I don't know, it's just fond memories. So anytime I see something Demon Slayer, I think it's like, I always buy it. I always grab something. And so these ones, as well as a couple of others, are very important to me. Yeah. Sword number 13 continues the pattern of it being a Demon Slayer collection. It is Shinobu's blade. So when I did the Demon Slayer cosplay with my friends, I dressed up as Shinobu, and when I saw this sword at, I think, Oz Comic Con, I knew I had to get it. The foam ones aren't cut out, but they do have the handle, whereas the metal one actually cut out. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Demon Slayer, I'll explain why the blade is as it is. So Shinobu isn't strong enough to completely decapitate a demon with her sword. And so she created a poison that actually kills demons. And she puts it on the tip of her blade and has this cut out so it's a lot lighter for her to swing. And as long as she slices them with the poison, she can still defeat them. And I just thought it was really cool. So because of my cosplay and because of the shape of the sword, I knew it had to come into my collection. Also, the sword's sheath is wooden, and that's just pretty unique because I think it's the only one in my collection that has that. So this is one of my favorites as well, but for a whole bunch of different reasons. Okay, sword 14 and 15 I have here. They are Demon Slayer again, and they come as a pair again. One of my favorite characters in it is Tengen, one of the Hashiras, and they have such a cool arc in the story, and I fell in love with the character. So I wanted his swords, and so I have them. Sorry, the Velcro got stuck together. And so I have Tengen swords. Now here's one. I have to be careful. It's hard to do this while sitting down. And here's 2. These are Tengen swords. I know Tengen actually has some flames or like more patterns rather than a yellow line, but a lot of the replicas don't actually have that pattern. They just have the yellow stripe. So these aren't completely accurate, but I still love them all the same. They're really fun, they're really cool. They're quite heavy is another thing, but I love them. They're also chained together. So that's another thing with Tengens. They're chained together so he can slice and just keep them on him at all times. But yeah, this is, what did I say? 14 and 15. Swords 14 and 15. Swords 16, 17, 18, and 19 we bought all at once because it was actually a lot cheaper to buy 4 swords than 1. We got these last year at SmashCon, which is a big anime convention in Sydney, and they were trying to sell a lot of One Piece merch. So all of these are from One Piece. The first one is the iconic sword from Zoro. This is Zoro's Ichimonji sword. And I knew I wanted to have a few of Zoro's swords in my collection. I didn't get his normal 2 katanas, but the Ichimonji is more, I guess, more important, even though he always has the 2 at the beginning. And so I wanted this in my collection. They only also had a certain number of ones that you could choose from out of the One Piece swords, so I just went with ones that I knew Alk and I would like. The next sword is another one of Zoro's. It is Zoro's Enma sword. And this one's kind of cool. It has the green along the blade. It has the gold handle here, hilt, handle part, and it has the purple handle. I really like the look of this one. It's very cute. These swords are also not as big as a lot of the other ones that I have in my collection, but they're cute and they were cheap, so added to the collection. I had also been to a couple of conventions, and every time I go and I have the money but I don't get my sword, I always say that I owe myself a sword, or if I do something and I go through a hard time, I owe myself a sword. So going to SmashCon, I was up to owing myself 4 swords. So when we got there and they had the deal, I was also like, well, it's gonna be easier to get the 4 swords because I owe them to myself because I hadn't gotten them, like, more swords for my collection for many, many, many months. The next one is Law's sword. Now, I don't actually know too much about this one. This one was more Alk's pick. It is out of One Piece as well. It has the little fluffy bit here, which is cute, but it is just black and silver like a normal katana, and Alk really wanted it. Alk really liked it, so that is part of my collection as well because it was easier to grab that. Last but not least, sword number 19. This is Goldie Roger's sword from the very beginning of One Piece. Now, this was another one of Alk's picks. I really liked it because of the handle. I think it was really cute, the way they have the gold, and I liked that the sword itself was purple and black. I was more going for aesthetic purposes. I haven't seen the full One Piece series. I have skipped a few. I've seen the live action. Alk and I were going to watch One Piece together. We were watching One Piece together, and then he continued it without me, so he is well ahead of me, and so a lot of the One Piece stuff are his. Or they're still mine because, you know, it's my collection. But we share. This was his contribution. Now, that is all the swords. I would also like to show you guys the daggers that I have. I have 7 daggers, so this will be a lot quicker to get through, I promise. But yes, I thought it would be a cool idea for you guys to see them and just to know sort of the rest of my collection as well. So, dagger number 1. This dagger is the first dagger of my collection. It is the first dagger that I got, and it's actually a funny story to how I got it. So this one is the dagger, the demon dagger from Supernatural. I was a big Supernatural fan, and there are these things back in small country towns still. It's a little bit outdated, but there are things called debutante balls. They're like coming of age ceremonies for young girls that hit 16, 17 years old. You wear a white dress and you have like a ceremony thing with dancers, and you invite all your family and friends and things like that. My high school still does debutante balls. And when I was there, still did debutante balls, but there weren't as many guys in my year because a lot of them had dropped out. So there were more girls than guys. I ended up going to my deb with a friend of a friend who lived in the next town over, and we got along great. And one of the things we bonded over was Supernatural. With debutante balls as well, you're supposed to get your partner a gift. Some of them are like cufflinks for the guys, some of them are like jewelry for the girls. I'm not the biggest jewelry fan, but my debutante partner knew that I liked Supernatural and knew that I liked swords. So I actually, as my gift to him, took him and his then girlfriend with my family and some friends to Supernova in Sydney. We did a day trip. It was like 5 hours there and 5 hours back. And I paid for them to go, and while they were there, he bought me this Supernatural dagger. So this is actually, my first dagger was a gift from my debutante partner back when I was in year 11. And so it's so random, but it's so quirky and so funny, just because it has multiple meanings. It was our gift of friendship / for the event. It was my love of Supernatural and also my love of swords. So that's how I got this one. Daggers number 2 and 3 aren't really daggers, but I like to include them in that category anyway. They are, you guessed it, more Zelda ones. So they're 2 versions of the Master Sword. I'm pretty sure it's like this was around the time Skyward Sword came out, and in Skyward Sword you upgrade the sword, and every time it upgrades like it changes slightly in appearance. I think one of them is the Skyward Sword and one of them is just like a plain sword from one of the other games, but there wasn't really too much thought put into these. They were quite cheap, and they actually came with a small Hylian shield or Hylian shield, and they fit in the back like this. To be displayed, like hung up on a wall. I'm holding it in place because it actually doesn't stay in place, but I really liked these. They were some of the first ones that I ever had, and so I declared that they were part of my dagger collection because I don't actually keep them with the shield. I usually display them together and then the shield separately. Dagger number 3 is the only weapon that I have from Game of Thrones. I watched Game of Thrones all of the seasons. I wasn't the biggest fan. I really liked fantasy series. I wasn't the biggest fan of like the nudity and things like that, but I am aware that back in those imaginary times, that's definitely how things would have been. I'm also not a fan of like Jon Snow's sword or any of the other ones, but I really liked Cat's Paw and I really liked Needle. So I have Cat's Paw in my collection, but I don't actually have Needle yet. It's still on my to buy list, so we'll see if we can get it in future. But this is my 4th dagger. It's Cat's Paw from Game of Thrones. Daggers 5 and 6 are Lord of the Rings. Again, I guess you guys are getting a feel of my character just from, and the things I like, just from these swords. You can see all the franchises that make a difference. Legolas's daggers. Now these are really cool. They've got the gold trim. The handles are plastic, but they look like wood. They've got engravings on the blade itself, and they're curved because they're elven. I think they were super cute. These also came with a stand that I can hang them up with, but I also, like I said, we're renting. I don't actually hang any of them on the walls. So these ones stay downstairs on display on the TV cabinet. My last dagger, dagger number 7, is Galadriel's dagger from Rings of Power. Now, as a fake fan, I'm kidding. I love Lord of the Rings, I love The Hobbit, but I have not yet seen Rings of Power. I loved the design on Galadriel's dagger. I love that it's half gold, half silver. I love the handle, how it wraps around the blade itself. And I just think it's really, really pretty. So when I saw this, I knew that I wanted it for my collection, and Rings of Power is on my to watch list. So I'm going to get through it eventually. I just think it was super neat. So that's why I added this one to my collection as well. That's all my swords and that's all my daggers. But I have a couple of, I guess, extra pieces, extra weapons, I like to call them, for my collection, including Your Forge's Thorn Princess daggers. Now these are quite small. I'm pretty sure the ones in the anime are a lot bigger, but these ones are just like little fiddle toys. They are metal, which I like, but I think they're super cool. And I actually like the size of them because sometimes I'll tie my hair up and I'll put them behind my hair, and I just think it's really cute. So I have Your Forge's needles here, the Thorn Princess needles. And then the next thing I have is Aquaman's trident. Aquaman's trident is the biggest piece in my collection and is also probably the most expensive piece. It's huge, it's taller than me. I can see if I can fit it into the camera, but I can also stand up with it behind so you guys can see the full size of it. Okay, I think you can see me. I can't actually see myself, but this is Aquaman's trident. Like I said, it's actually taller than me. When you pack it down, it comes in 3 pieces and it is metal. It's not solid metal, it's hollow, but it's metal, it's heavy. It's very sharp too. The points of it is really sharp, and even the ends of it here are very sharp. It's one of my favorite pieces. There's a lot of detail into it, a lot of engraving, and it's gold, but yes. Just for scale, this is the Aquaman trident. Just giving you guys an up close of the top of it. This is the top of the trident. It's like I said, it's very sharp on here. This is probably the most dangerous one just because it's awkward to hold and it's huge, but it's one of my favorites, and yeah, it was well worth it. I think this is always the one that people get excited to hold and play with whenever they see it. Okay, so that's it. thank you all so much for watching. That is my entire sword, dagger, weapon collection. Please let me know if there are any additions that you would like to see. I'm always on the hunt for new swords and new replicas, especially from franchises that I really enjoy. Let me know which one that you think is your favorite from my collection, and also let me know if you would like to see a video at the end of the year if I have any additions to the collection, to see what has been added, how my collection has grown, anything like that. If you like this video, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. I really appreciate every single person that has come in and has been watching my content recently. It really, really means a lot. And I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I've been enjoying it. I think that's it. So thank you all so much once again. And I hope you guys have a wonderful morning, evening, night, time zone. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye. I really hope that wasn't blurry the whole time. Also, how cute is my makeup? I did my makeup special for you guys today. Anyway, I'll see you all later.